हेलो एवरीवन, वेलकम बैक टू आवर यूट्यूब चैनल। और आज का जो हम टॉपिक डिस्कस करेंगे वो है सेंट्रल विजिलेंस कमीशन। Unacademy UPSC Championship 2.0 has provided all India free mock test series to several students under UPSC CSE Prelims 2020 to 21 Paper 1 JS. You also you will also get a chance to meet with the UPSC CSE 2019 toppers, top Unacademy educators, and subscription scholarship also. And this was conducted on 30th August, 6th September, 13th September, 20th September, and today, that is 27th September. So many students have used this opportunity to get the subscription and many benefits from UPSC Championship 2.0. As we know that our exams is scheduled for next month, so if you want to brush up some of your skill topics or concepts, or you want to clear some of your doubts, then you can enroll for UPSC CSC 2020 with Unacademy. So you can complete your full preparation under this. Then this one subscription has like unlimited benefits and benefits. Unlimited benefits like you can learn from your home, you have unlimited access to all the courses, we have top educators in one platform, full syllabus coverage, double doubt clearing session, live test series, and study material will be provided in form of PDF format. We have proper answer writing sessions for every student under our mentor and guidance. Then this is also a one-stop solution for your complete UPSC CSC preparation, because we have structured batches with top educators. We have batches in Hindi, English bilingual, late night, as well as 2 year batches. Then we have full 100% syllabus coverage, vast range of optional prelim test series with evaluation main test series. We have daily current affair practice for every student, essay and answer writing practice, and we will also provide you with your performance analysis also, along with your interview preparation, which is very crucial for every student. So this is also a complete batch preparation courses has also started under UPSC CSE, and we have 4 batches. First is the bilingual batch that has been scheduled for UPSC CSE 2021, in which the medium of instruction would be in Hindi English both. Second is in Hindi under UPSC CSE 2021, and the study material would be provided in Hindi also. And then we have a third batch that is complete in English, so those students who are comfortable in English language can enroll for this batch. Then we have fourth batch for UPSC CSE 2022 batch, in which we just have English for the time being. So we have already started from 21 September our classes, so you don't need to waste your time and enroll for our course. Now, along with that, we also have unlimited revision booster prelims batch course for every student, and we have two under this ultimate revision booster for prelim 2020, that is in bilingual and Hindi, bilingual and English. Then it is completely free for every student. The duration is from 5th to 30th September, and we have free live classes from Monday to Friday, and in this we'll have sectional quizzes also. So if you subscribe now, you will get 10% off. So you just need to apply this code SIMPLEYT, and you can get subscription over here. So you will get 10% off, and this is very simple. Along with that, we're also providing you with T20 daily current affair test series that is completely free for every student, and it is scheduled for 7:30 p.m. daily, 20 question 20 minutes, and it will be consist of 40 marks, and you will get your test analysis, in which you will get to know about your correct and incorrect answers in green and red marks, and you will also get a percentile with the toppers and class, so that will help you to improve your own performances in daily current affair test series. Now, if you really like our channel, then you can enroll under YouTube or Telegram or Facebook, and the link is given in bio. So do join. Let's start. So in the introduction, let's start with the Central Vigilance Commission. Was basically an agency that was preventing the corruption in the central government, and it was established in 1964 by the executive resolution of a central government, and its establishment was recommended by Santhanam Committee on Prevention of Corruption from 1962 to 64. And it was originally the CVC, that we can say was neither a constitutional body nor a statutory body, but later in 2003 the parliament also enacted a law that was conferring the statutory status of the Central Vigilance Commission. Then in 2014 we can see that the CBC has been designated as an agency to receive and act on the complaints or disclosures of any allegation of corruption or misuse of office from the whistleblowers blowers under the public interest disclosure and the protection of informers resolution, that is known as PIDIP. So you can just I will use this abbreviation in the presentation also, so you just need to remember this name, and which is also known as whistleblowers resolution. Now, this commission was also empowered as the only designated agency to take action against the all complaints making motivated or the complaints that is regarding the central government. And the CBC was also conceived to be like the apex of the vigilance institution, free of control from the executive authority. It was monitoring all vigilance activity under the central government and advising various authorities in central government organization in planning, executing, then reviewing and reforming their vigilance work. Now let's talk about the composition. Now the CBC is basically a multi-member body because it consists of a central vigilance commissioner, that is also known as a chairperson, and not more than two vigilance commissioners, and they're appointed by the president by a warrant under his hand and seal on the recommendation of three-member committee consisting of prime minister as its head, and the union minister of home affairs, and the leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha. Now they actually hold a term of office for like 4 years, or until they attain the age of 65 years, whichever is earlier. And after their tenure, they are not eligible for the further employment under central or state government. Now, the president can also remove the Central Vigilance Commissioner or any Vigilance Commissioner from the office under circumstances like, first, if he is adjured and insolvent, or if he has been convicted of an offence which in the opinion of central government involves a moral turpitude, then if he engages during the term of office in any paid employment outside the duties of his office, or if he is in the opinion of president unfit to continue in the office by reason of infirmity of mind body, and if he has acquired the financial or the other interest as is likely to affect the prejudicially in his official functions. Now we can also see over here that in all these additions to this, the president can also like remove the central vigilance commissioner or any vigilance commissioner on the ground of proved like misbehavior or incapacity. Now, in addition to all this, we can also see that the president can also remove the Central Vigilance Commissioner or any vigilance commissioner on the ground of proved misbehavior or incapacity. But, however, in many cases, we can also see that the president has to refer the matter to the Supreme Court for an inquiry. And if the Supreme Court, like after the inquiry, like tries to uphold the cause of removal and advises, so then the president can remove him. Now he is deemed to be guilty of behavior if he is concerned with the interested in any contract or the agreement that was made by the central government, or we can say that if he participates in any way in the profit of such contract or the agreement, or in any other benefit that he will get from arising of it therefrom, otherwise than as a member or in common with the other members of an incorporated company. Now the salary and the allowances and the other condition of the service, have been said that Central Vigilance Commissioner are basically similar to all those chairmen of UPSC, and that of the Vigilance Commissioner are basically similar to all the member of UPSC, and but they cannot be varied to this his disadvantage after his appointment. Now let's talk about the organization. So basically the Central Vigilance Commission like has its own secretary, chief technical examiners wing, and a wing of commissioner for department inquiries, and secretary The secretary is basically consists of a secretary, joint secretaries, deputy secretaries, under secretaries, and the office staff. Now, the chief technical wing consists of the chief technical examiners organization that constitutes the technical wing of the CBC. It consists of all the chief engineers that has been designated as the chief technical examiners, and by supporting the engineering staff, the main function that has been assigned to the organization are like as follows. First, the technical audit of construction works of government organization from a vigilance angle. Then second, like the investigation of specific cases of complaints that are relating to the construction workers. Now extension to the assistant to all to the CBI in their investigation that is involving a lot of technical matters or for evaluation of properties in Delhi. Fourth, tendering of advice, assistant to the CBC and the chief vigilance officer in vigilance cases are basically involving the technical matters. Then the commissioner for departmental inquiries. Then the CDIs are basically function as inquiry officer to conduct the oral inquiries in departmental proceedings initiated against the public servants. Now let's talk about the function. Basically, to inquire or cause like any injury or to cause an any inquiry or investigation to be conducted on the reference that has been made by the central government, wherein they are they wherein there are many allegations that a public servant, being an employee of the central government or its authorities, has also committed an offense like under the Prevention Corruption Act under 1988. Now, the second point function over here is basically they need to inquire or cause an inquiry or investigation to be conducted in any complaint that has been against any official belonging to the below mentioned like category of official. There are wherein being there are allegations against them that they have committed a particular offense under the Prevention of Corruption Act under in 1988. Now, the members of all India services serving in the Union and Group A officers of central government, and they specified the levels of the officers of the authority of the central government. Now, the third function is that basically to exercise the superintendence over the functioning of the Delhi Special Police Establishment, that is also known as the CBI, insofar it relates to the investigation of offences under the Prevention of Corruption Act in 1988. Then they need to give directions to the Delhi Special Police Establishment for the superintendence that relates to investigation of these officers also. Then they need to review the progress of all the investigation that has been conducted by the Delhi Special Police Establishment into the offences that has been committed by under the Prevention of Corruption Act in 1988. Now, after they also need to actually review the progress of all the applications that are pending with the competent authorities for the sanction of the prosecution under the Prevention of Corruption Act in 1988. Then to tender the advice to the central government and its authorities on the matters that has been referred to them by them. Then they need to also exercise the superintendence over the vigilance administration in the ministries of the central government and its authorities. Then they need to undertake and cause an inquiry into complaints that has been received by the public interest disclosure on and the protection of informers resolution, and they need to recommend all the appropriate action. So basically, like the central government is basically required to consult the CBC in making the rules and regulations that are governing the vigilance and disciplinary matters that are related to the members of central services and all India services. Then there are also the Central Vigilance Commissioner is the chairperson, and the two Vigilance Commissioner along with the secretaries of Ministry of Home Affairs. Then we have Personnel Training, then Revenue, Finance, and the members that has been actually there of the selection committee and whose recommendation the central government basically appoints the director of the enforcement. Then further, this committee is basically in consultation with the director of enforcement that recommends the officer for appointments to the post above the level of deputy director of enforcement. Then the Central Vigilance Commission has also tried to notify that the all as a specific authority to receive the information that are relating to the suspicious transaction under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act in 2002. The Lokpal and the Lokayat Act in 2013 was amended by the CBC Act in 2003, and the Delhi Special Police Establishment Act in 1946. And basically they made a lot of changes in the respective functions of the CBC. Now, the Director of Prosecution under the Directorate of the Prosecution in CBI shall also be appointed by the central government on the recommendation of Central Vigilance Commission. And the Central Vigilance Commissioner is basically the chairperson, and the two Vigilance Commissioner, along with the secretaries of like Home Affairs, Personnel Training, members of Selection Committee, and the recommendation that has been made to the central government on the appointments of officers to the post to the level of SP and above in the CBI except the director of CBI. Now let's talk about the jurisdiction over here. Now the members of All India All India Civil Services are basically serving in connection with affairs with the union and group A officers of central government. And second, the officers in the rank of scale 5 and above the public sector banks. Now the officer in grade D and above in the Reserve Bank of India and NABARD and SIDBI as the chief executives and the executive on the board and other officers of EH and above the schedule A and B in the public sector undertakings. We can also talk about the chief executive and executive on board that are responsible in the above like schedule C and D public sector undertakings. They are then the jurisdiction is under the management, and above in the general insurance companies, the senior divisional managers, and above in the life insurance corporation. Then the officers that are drawing the salary of 8,000 per month has been pre-revised, and above the central government we have DA pattern as it may be revised from time to time in the societies, local authorities that are owned and controlled by the central government. Then let's talk about the working of the Central Vigilance Commission. Basically, it conducts its proceeding at the headquarters in New Delhi, and it is vested with the power to regulate its own procedure, and it has a lot of powers of civil court and proceedings have in a judicial character or manner, but it may call for the information or reports from the central government or its authority so as to enable to it exercise the general supervision over the vigilance and anti-corruption work in them. Then the CVC, like on the receipt of the report of inquiry that has been like undertaken by any agency on the reference that has been made by it, basically it advises the central government and authorities to as further course of action. Then the central government and its authorities like they shall also consider the advice of CBC and to take appropriate action. But however, we can also see that where the central government and its authorities does not agree with the advice of CBC, it shall also like try to communicate with all the reason that has been recorded in writing to CBC, and the CBC then has to present it annually to the president or a report and its performance, and the president also like places this report before each house of the parliament. Now let's talk about the vigilance units in the ministries. Now the all ministries, we can also say that all ministries or departments in the union government have a chief vigilance officer who heads the vigilance division of the organization that are concerned, assisting, advising the secretary or the head of the office in a lot of manners that are pertaining to the vigilance. Now he also like provides a link between its his organization and the Central Vigilance Commission on one hand, and his organization and Central Bureau of Investigation on the other. We can also see the vigilance basically function performed by the central CVO that basically includes like the collecting intelligence about the corrupt practice of the employees in the various organizations, then the investigating in all the variable allegations that has been reported to him, processing the investigation reports for further like consideration of the disciplinary authority concerned, referring matters to the Central Vigilance Commission for the advice wherever they are necessary. Now let's talk about the Whistleblowers Act in 2001. Before that, we need to understand the background for this act. Now basically, like, in order to establish a proper mechanism that needs to receive complaints that are relating to disclosure on any allegation of corruption or willful misuse of power of discretion against any public servant is basically to inquire and cause of any inquiry in such disclosures and to provide with the adequate safeguards against the victimization of the person making such complaint, and the government introduced the public interest disclosure and the protection person by making the disclosure bill in 2010 in the Lok Sabha on 26 A 2010. Now the bill has also been like referred to the department that has been related to the Parliament Standing Committee, and the recommendation of the parliamentary that has been in the standing committee and were considered, and the cabinet also by the cabinet also in its meetings held at on 13/12/2011 basically tried to approve all the official documents of the bill, which included the renaming of the Whistleblowers Protection Bill in 2011. Now the Lok Sabha has been like considered the bill along with the official amendments that has been made, and it was passed on 26/12/2011, and it was transmitted to the Rajya Sabha for discussion and passing. The bill was also listed for consideration on 28th and 29th December 2011, but it could not be taken up for the discussion and passing in the Rajya Sabha. Now, this bill is basically it came up in 2011, but the consideration in the Rajya Sabha was there on 14/8 2012 during the monsoon session in 2012. Now, the bill was also like listed on a number of days that has been subsequently, but the same has been taken up during the said, we can say, the monsoon session. Now we can see the notices for moving motion for consideration and passing of the bill, and for moving the official amendments were also like given to the Rajya Sabha secretary during the winter session in 2012, budget session, then 2013 and monsoon session 2013 of parliament that has been respectively, but the bill could not be taken up. Now we can see the notices for moving this official amendment as well as the consideration and the passing of the bill were again like sent to the Rajya Sabha and during the winter session in 2013 in the of the parliament. Now the bill was, we can say, was passed by Lok Sabha and was finally like passed in Rajya Sabha on 21 February 2014 and received the assent of the president on 9th May 2014. Now what are the features of this bill? First, that the act basically like provides a proper mechanism for protecting all the identity of whistleblowers, a term that has been given to people who expose corruption, and people who expose corruption in government or irregularity or any irregularities by any public functionaries can also be free of any fear of victimization. And this act can also like provide for a system to encourage the people to disclose information about the corruption or any willful misuse of any power by public servants including ministers. Now as per the act, a person can also like make a public interest disclosure on corruption before the competent authority, which is at present the Central Vigilance Commission, and the government by notification can also try to appoint like any other body also for receiving such complaints about corruption. Now the act, we can see like however it tries to lay down a proper punishment up to 2 years in prison and a fine of up to like rupees 30,000 for a false and for a false or for a false or any incomplete complaint. We can also see that the act over here also says that every disclosure shall also be made like in a good faith, and the person making any disclosure shall also provide a personal declaration by starting that he reasonably believes that this information disclosed by him and the allegation contained therein by is substantially true. Now the disclosures that can be made in the writing and by email message in accordance with the procedure as may be prescribed and contained in the full particulars and be accompanied by supporting documents and other material. However, like we can see that no action has been taken on the disclosure. if it does not indicate the identity of the complaint or the public servant, or if the identity of the complaint or the public servant is found to be incorrect. Now, the information that has been related to the national security has also been kept out of the purview of this act, and this act is not basically applicable to Jammu Kashmir, the armed forces, the special protection group that has been mandated, and that has to be provide security to prime minister and the former prime minister, like among others also. So basically we have covered everything in Central Vigilance Commission. So if you really like my video, you can like, subscribe and share, and thank you so much for watching my video.